Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Not Another Isekai. And today, most likely a shorter episode, just because, we talked about it last week, right? Where we are in that sweet spot of like the middle of the seasons. So we are just about wrapping up spring 2023 and going into summer 2023. So today we got 6 shows, so that's why gonna be a little shorter, but still good. Still some good episodes. We are still carrying over 4 shows that still wrapping up, from the spring season. But then 2 shows did actually air on our list. On the shows that I am ready to watch. So we got 2 new ones, so that'll be a good time. Yeah, let's just get into it. So first up, we got Hell's Paradise episode 13. This is the finale. I think the only... Oh, no, that's not true. We have one other show we're ending today. But yeah, Hell's Paradise episode 13. Overall, I thought it was a pretty cool episode. Some emotional moments. And then some little bit of a cliffhanger, I suppose. So yeah, I would say, kind of like the first part of the episode was them kind of wrapping up their battle with the Tensen. Shion coming in, going crazy, right? Like it seems like they really did. Again, I mean, this is a show, so obviously it makes sense for all these characters to come together like they did, because if they didn't, then this wouldn't be a show. We wouldn't be watching a show about these particular characters because it wouldn't be interesting, right? But we do have all these characters who, one by one, seem to just all be learning about Tao and like how to read it and how to damage it and all that stuff. So now we have Shion as well, where he's able to like use the Tao and like predict movements, and he's able to cut it in a certain way where it doesn't regenerate. So that was pretty cool for him to come in, because he's a really cool character. Really enjoy it, and also all his loss too, with him losing his guy. I forget who it was, but that sucked, right? Yeah, and then him also being even more of a badass. Him coming through and him going crazy with the fighting and all that, but then him actually getting like pricked and sliced a little bit by the one Tensen's like flowers, and they had like some sort of venom or whatever on them, and it was like, ooh, even one small cut is death. And then for him to be like, nah, we're not doing that, and him to actually slice off the flowers that were growing on his body was crazy. Because like he wasn't just cutting off the flowers, like he was like cutting off, like he had to cut off like bits of his own flesh to really like gouge out like the flowers and the stems and all that. So he was taking damage. But I mean, on paper it made sense why he did that, because if he let them grow, he would have died. He would have died immediately. So he kind of had to be like, okay, well, this sucks too, but at least it gives me a greater chance of living. So that was crazy. And then we have some cool stuff. It's kind of talking about how like these characters are coming together. They're all special in their own ways. We have Nuru guy who hugged Sagiri, and she was able to recover some stamina. Didn't work with Yuzuriha. Excuse me. Didn't work with her for some reason, but it did work with Sagiri. We're not really sure, right? So I'm not really sure what that means, if like newer guy is able to use some Tao or something, or maybe it's just some power, because even like the shinobi have like certain powers or like certain ability that they're able to use. Maybe it's that, maybe it's not as special. It's like, oh, it's Tao. But even the stuff that the shinobi like Yuzuriha and Gabimaru were able to do, the other Tensen even said, oh, well, that's a form of Tao. So I guess maybe it is all Tao. I don't know. So that was cool. Shion was actually able to kill the Tensen, was able to cut off a bunch of its heads with the help of Senta. Senta with the flower knowledge, right? So that was cool. Also very creepy to have all the different heads in there, and it was weird. I don't like that. speaking of Senta, Senta died, unfortunately. That was huge for me because, again, not really a character that we've grown with a whole lot. I feel like he's mostly been like a background character, very much a supporting character. But this was a little emotional, because we did see a little bit of his backstory in previous episodes, um, and he always seemed cool. He seemed like a little, maybe like a little cowardly at times, but I mean, at the end here, he was ready. He was ready to fight. Um, and then for at the very end, for Yuzuriha to be like, picture whatever you love, like your family, friends, your hometown, that that girl that you left behind or whatever, like all that stuff. And then, for him to kind of imagine his paintings, his drawings, and then for that to also turn into Yuzuriha, a girl that he very much admired. I don't know, which is just a very fitting ending to him. Like, if he had to die, I think this was very, very nice. And then to be kind of embraced by Yuzuriha that whole time, that was, again, very, very nice for both characters. For Senta, again, for that to be the person that he admired and wanted to be more like, not even necessarily like in a romantic way, like we're assuming that he liked her that way as well, but he also liked her because she felt so free and she just kind of did things and she didn't really care. Again, going back to his backstory where the things that he loved to do he wasn't able to do because his family was like, you're not going to do this, you're going to be an executioner or whatever. But and then also on Yuzuriha's side, very nice for her to kind of show some emotion. I feel like up until this point she's been a wild card, and then for her to be like embracing him and to like kind of comfort him in death was nice as well. And then I love all of this as well because all of this ends and then Sigiri is like, we're gonna leave this island alive. Like, she has this newfound determination where she's, no, we're not doing this anymore. No one else is dying. I'm not seeing any more loss. Everyone here surviving, I guarantee it. So I can't wait to see more of her next season, which I believe a second core was announced. So that's great. But yeah, for her to be like, nah, this is it. We're not doing this anymore. We're not, I'm here. I'm protecting everyone. We're living and we are getting off this island. And then for the other kind of bomb to drop, for Yuzuriha to think that Gabimaru's wife is all an illusion. Because she's like, well, I'm also shinobi, I'm from a different village, so, I might not do things, or my village might not have done things exactly the same way that his did, but, my village, my, like, elders and stuff would also use illusions to kind of scare us when we were younger and, like, instill certain ideas and emotions and stuff in us, to kind of turn us into these perfect shinobi, and so she's thinking that that is a common thing with all the shinobi villages, because even starting off with the like leader be like, oh, he was immortal, it's like, well, that might have been an illusion, my village did something very similar. And then attached to that, maybe Gabimaru's wife is an illusion, maybe Gabimaru doesn't even have a wife, and that was just something that they kind of placed in his mind, to control him. I guess it didn't work because he did leave the village, but maybe all of this is also like what they were planning on. Maybe they forced him to get out of here. Maybe this was also all part of their plan, I don't know, but even for that to be a possibility, like something that I don't think any of us were we're even theorizing of, like, oh, Gabimaru's wife isn't even real. I definitely wasn't thinking about that. And now for that to be a again, it's not confirmed, but even the way it was ending with Gabimaru like resetting and him like not remembering anything is like, maybe that is a like testament to the way his mind works and how like it can be altered and whatever, right? So that's crazy. Again, with this kind of 1-2 punch at the end with his wife might not even be real. So if that's the case, like, I wonder if they're still controlling him, if like, like I said, if they are, if this was all their plan all along, where they wanted him to go to the island. Like, I wonder what their goal is with that, or if it's not, or if Gabimaru was just living with the ramifications of being in that village now, which would really suck. And then the other punch of him resetting at the end and him not knowing anybody, and him basically losing all of that character growth, with him like becoming less and less of this, Gabimaru the hollow, and him kind of getting these emotions, getting these feelings when it comes to people like Sagiri, or the girl, I forget her name, the like pink-haired girl, and all of that, like us to just throw that away. And now we have to go into season 2 being like, well, what's going to happen? How is he going to act? Right? And then at the very end, we have a little bit of a after credits scene where they are sending more Simon to the island. I don't really know what that means. I guess maybe they're sending him, I believe what they said is they're basically sending them there to like look over everyone else that's there. I guess they feel like the people there are not doing their job, or they're not doing it quick enough, because the whole point is that they sent all these people here to the assignment and the criminals to find the elixir, right? So they maybe feel like they're not doing it quick enough, they're kind of straying from the path or whatever, and so they're sending more of them there. Again, I don't know the importance of those characters, especially the one that the shot kind of hung on for an extra second or two. Don't really know that, but yeah, that's kind of how the episode ends. So overall, I thought the season was pretty good. I don't, if I'm going to be a little overcritical, I don't think it was like this like banger that other shows have been. Kind of like the whole anime conversation is about Hell's Paradise. I don't really think it was that like other shows were. I feel like even even something like Chainsaw Man, I feel like was a little more like talked about and kind of circulating than something like Hell's Paradise was. But aside from that, or in spite of that, I guess, still really good. Still very interesting. A lot of really cool characters, a lot of really cool ideas. So I'm very interested to see what what a season 2 will bring. Where it's like, again, what's going to happen with Gabimaru, with the whole like resetting thing, maybe a fake wife. We got Sagiri, who seems to have that like fire in her eyes, to see how she grows. To even see how people like Shion and Yuzuriha, kind of bounce off of that and come out of everything. Yeah. So, good stuff. Next we got Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, Season 2, Episode 11. This one was really cool. So yeah, we got a lot of really cool stuff here. I mean, basically, we're gonna just get into it, At the very end, we have Suletta. I mean, the whole episode this was happening, but we got Suletta and Eri fighting. Suletta being like, "No, I still love my mom, still love everybody. I'm trying to save them. We gotta stop this." And Eri kind of being past that point where she's like, Eri doesn't want to do this either, but she's like, I have to, like, I have to, like we're already here, so so that's why I can't stop this, but I can warn you, Suletta, get out of here. Like, we're done. Like, I don't want you to be hurt. I don't want to hurt you. And at the very end, for like, apparently something got through to her. Like, Suletta was able to get through to her, and for Eri then to supposedly sacrifice herself, to save everyone, because the people, the government or whatever, was using the ILTS, this like super weapon, disguised as like a some sort of communication device, right? Use that. It was using like hyper beam. It's like a Pokemon move. Um, you know, using hyper beam against everyone, it was just gonna take everyone out. Just be like, you know what's best? Killing all these people, clean slate, and then we can move on to their own like government, political stuff. But Eri kind of sacrificing herself and all the other mobile suits, Gundams, whatever, um, to protect everyone. And again, I say sacrifice because we see the end through Soleta's eyes, um, how like Eri, the Ariel, the actual suit is completely destroyed. Like it's missing half its body, its arm, like it's destroyed. So that's a huge way to end the episode, especially with there still being one episode left in the season. Um, that's gonna be devastating. I mean, they don't have Ariel anymore, so just from like a like tactical perspective, that's rough. Suleta kind of being, Eri being a huge part of her fight, a huge reason for her fight to now lose Eri. Eri being such like, her like other half almost for her life. I feel like she just kind of got over the whole like craziness of her life, like all these different like revelations that have happened to her in the past however long, and now she gets hit with Eri supposedly dead. That's gonna be huge. Prospera. I mean, we already saw a little bit of that. Where Prospera was going kind of crazy. She got her helmet shot off. Wild stuff is happening, but now Eri's gone. It's like that's gonna destroy her because again, that was also her basically whole reason for living. Her whole reason for Operation Zero, right? Was that what it was called? Oh no, Quiet Storm, right? I don't know. So now what's gonna happen with her? Is she just gonna be a recluse? Is she gonna go nuclear? Like that's a lot of questions there. Yeah. And then aside from that, speaking of like family squabbles, we have Lauda and Ghoul fighting because Lauda blames Ghoul for everything, and not only blames him, but is also like, why didn't you tell me? Feels inferior, him being the younger brother. Him like, oh, did you not think I'm strong enough? Did you not think I could bear the weight? Did you not think I could help? And Ghoul's over here just like, no, but this is my load to bear. I didn't want to put this on you or anyone else. I'm the one that should be punished for my own actions. So, I understand both sides of it. I understand both perspectives. But I do like the very end where Ghoul decides to kind of repent for all of this and kind of lets Lauda stab him and supposedly, seemingly just like was going to accept death. And then Felsi come out of nowhere, like hitting him with the space goo, and just being like, "What are you doing? Like, you were just gonna let yourself die in this stupid like sibling battle? Like this is dumb, And I really love that from a from a character perspective is nice because we see how she reacts, how Ghoul reacts, how Lauda is just like, oh yeah, this is dumb. But then also almost from a meta perspective where in another show, in another story, Ghoul would have died there and that would have been like his moment, and then Lauda would have had to come out of that and whatever, right? But in this show, they're like, no, we're not doing that. Like, you're not dying through this. Like, that's so stupid. Like, no, you guys have gonna come to an understanding. You guys are gonna be together and strong and unified, and we're gonna like we have so much more stuff to get through. You are not gonna die here, So I thought that was cool. And yeah, that's pretty much the episode. Big stuff, obviously. A lot of big stuff happened, right? And I'm excited to get into the finale. I don't really know how it's gonna go. Like I said, I don't think there's a reason for the whole like data storm thing to exist anymore. I mean, that was the whole point. I mean, that was Prospera's whole thing, was to create a world where Eri could survive So now that Aries dead again, I guess we don't really have confirmation. We'll probably get that next episode. Um, but I mean, if she's gone, the whole like data storm thing is unnecessary. Um, and so I don't really know what's gonna. I mean, again, unless she just goes insane and starts going wild and starts attacking everything. I don't really see a point in her being the threat anymore. Suletta again could kind of go into a depression again because of all of this, but I mean, I would hope that they all kind of band together. I don't know how much of a threat, how much of an outside threat we have anymore. The whole like ILTS thing, they might fight with that, or episode 12 might just be kind of a wind down episode where we all kind of regroup. The kind of main thing is over now. We're all going to regroup and figure out what's happening next. I don't know if another season is planned. If it isn't, then I could see a couple different ways that they could kind of wrap the show up. If it is, then I'm excited to see kind of what the cliffhangers are for everything. But yeah, overall, very excited for the finale. Next, we got Insomniacs After School, episode 12. I believe we have one more episode after this, so excited for that. Not a whole lot happened in this episode, I don't think, but some cool stuff. They did have to postpone the photo shoot because of all the rain, which part of me liked because then we got more just kind of slice of life, them just kind of hanging out doing stuff together. So that was a good time. Their friends arrived. They had their friends because they were kind of running low on finances because they had to postpone the photo shoot. They had to stay there longer than they maybe initially anticipated. So they had to get some help from their friends. But that was also cool to see all the friends hanging out. I'm always a big fan of a nice, solid friend group. Yeah, so that was cool. And also them just kind of interacting with each other. It was fun. They also praised him, Nakami in particular, about the pictures he took, which I thought was a great moment because it not only showcases their friendship, but also it gives Nakami some sort of validation. That was still is a big thing with him, right? Where he's sort of been separated, sort of been, outcast, that sort of thing. He's very wary about liking things because they never seem to go right. Even a few episodes ago with them trying to do the whole meteor shower thing, like him putting his all into it and then it just being taken from him. He's very cautious of liking anything. So for him to continue to do this and try to get better and develop a passion for it, and then for him to get validation from his friends to be like, oh, these are awesome, these are like pro level photos, and for him to kind of be bashful of it. And then even, I believe we even cut to Maguri real quick and she's kind of looking over and, you can see it in her eyes as well, where she's happy for Nakami, because she kind of knows some of the stuff that he goes through with stuff like this. So that's great. What else do we have? They end up holding hands. That was a very sudden moment by Nakami. Just kind of do it and then be like, oh, is this good? And Marguerite would be like, yeah, this is good. So again, just like little things here and there, and just like those small moments that they both have to kind of get closer to each other is very nice. I love seeing it. And then at the very end, for them to kind of take a few steps forward, and to be like, oh, we're gonna do something even bigger, and Nakami wants to kidnap Maguri, because there's the whole thing with her parents coming to get her, because I guess it's like, all right, trip over, we gotta come get you, you gotta come back, doing stuff, whatever, right? In a way, very understandable. But in another way, when we're looking from the main character's perspective, Nakami Maguri, it's like, no, they still have so much more they want to do, so much more they have to do. They don't want to be separated from each other like this. Again, we've seen this over the last episode or so, where it's like they're kind of living this like fantasy life right now where they're just kind of chilling together. And like I said last episode, we're seeing a lot of examples of, it does sort of seem like they are this like married couple together, like cooking and shopping and hanging out, doing laundry, all that stuff, just like chilling, and so neither one of them really wants this to end. And so for them wanting one more day, and for Marguerite's parents to be like, you have to come home, and then for at the end, her parents to be like, we're coming to get you tonight, or I'm pretty sure they said tonight. And I love that Nagami's like, I'm gonna kidnap you, not in an aggressive way, but in a way that they're both totally on board for. So yeah, I'm very excited to see where that goes, because again, I believe next episode is the final episode. So I'm sure that's gonna be like the main crux, is gonna be him like kidnapping her and then maybe going somewhere else, and we see her parents get to the place and it's empty, and I believe that would be like a perfect setup for them to like go all in and them to really discuss their relationship. Not necessarily like a full conversation or whatever, but for them to have the moment of like, oh no, we're together, like we're doing this. It's not just like a nice moment here, a nice moment there, where we're kind of like skirting around the idea. Like next episode is it, where it's like we're getting it, it's here. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. Next, we got Oshi no Ko, episode 11. This is the finale. Yeah, and it pretty much ends on like the perfect episode. We have the whole like their first performance together. So we get to end the season with some real idol stuff, right? Like almost those points that they're training. There's different aspects to creating an idol group. We're kind of building all those up, and now this is like their first moment of payoff, where it's like, is this real? And I feel like it is. They're each bringing their own thing to the table, right? We have Memcho, who was bringing like the presence, right? Like when their performance, most people there were waving her glow stick. Because she's the one who has the audience, right? She's the one who can bring people. Then we have Ruby, who seems to be their like secret weapon, where it's like she is the daughter of I. No one else knows that, but she's the daughter of I. Like she is the one who has the energy, the charisma. She's just naturally born to be an idol. And then we have Kana, who kind of she is deservedly so the center, where she can sing the best, and when she is confident, she shines. So I think they're all bringing their own kind of little bit to the group that kind of makes it form and makes it work, at least preliminarily, right? Like we still have so much more to go. So yeah, I like Aqua being there. I talked about confidence. Aqua being there, kind of instilling confidence in Kana specifically. Because no one there really had her glow stick, right? Her glow stick was white. No one there was really waving the white glow stick, right? Memcho is there. She has the audience. Ruby is there. She has like, the like energy and the presence and the charisma and all that. Kana, she's the center, but at first glance, no one's really sure why she's the center. But then Aqua being there, waving her glow stick, everyone's, but hers is what's important. And then for her to kind of get that, and her own inner dialogue, starting from no one's here to see me, to what, I can do this, and even if no one is here to see me, I'm gonna make people be here to see me. And then for her to shine, and at the very end, people going off and people kind of noticing her and being like, what, during that second song, she really, she really started to show out, and we see, oh, that's why she's the center. Love that for her. So yeah, a pretty solid performance overall. And then we have some like after stuff, Sort of setting up next season, which I don't know if it's been announced, but I mean, we're getting one. We have to. We have some funny stuff with Memcho, where she's finally realizing that Kana has feelings for Aqua. I thought it was very funny to kind of see the gears turning in her head. You're like, oh wait, hold on. But then we get, and this kind of moves through the whole, rest of the episode, where Memcho is saying to herself, Akane, you have to work harder, because she knows that Akane truly likes Aqua. This isn't just a work relationship for her. And so she's like, oh, and it's tougher because she likes Akane and Kana. So it's tougher to kind of know, like, who am I supposed to root for? At this point, you're just kind of in the middle. You just kind of have to help them in whatever way you can help either of them out. But then with this whole thing with Kana, with them being close, being the same agency and whatever, and Memcho knowing Kana and like knowing how much now that she wants it, and also knowing how hard Kana works and everything, it's like, Akane, you bet you got to step up, if you really want Aqua, you're gonna have to prove it, because now you have a rival. Yeah, and then again, that kind of bleeds into this new thing, Tokyo Blade. We're moving into a stage performance, which is really cool. They're all gonna be a part of it, obviously. We got Aqua and Akane being love interests in the play, and then we have Kana also being a love interest, being kind of the like fan favorite, I guess, or not like fan favorite, but like someone who I guess the fans are like, oh, but instead of this character, what if the guy got with this character? So also in the play, Akane and Kana are gonna be rivals. So I love that. I like seemingly maybe a new arc that that season 2 is gonna focus on. So Tokyo Blade stuff. And again, I always say this way too late, but I did read the manga. I am past this. So I all up in here in this brain, I know everything that's gonna happen. Don't remember. Don't necessarily remember everything. I don't really remember how this plays out, but possibly I believe a new arc when we focus on Tokyo Blade. Kind of see how this goes. Again, it's more of a stage production, so it's very different than them doing like TV and movies. So we'll see how they kind of adapt to that. And yeah, very, very cool. Can't wait. And at the very end, Aqua kind of reminds us that he's still looking for his father. That's still a thing that's happening. We haven't forgotten. That's like the main reason why he's agreed to the play, because the one dude who might have some information, maybe not his father, but might have some information, is like the head of the like La La Lay or something stage production company. So that's a big reason why he agreed to do this. So we'll see more of that, I'm sure, as well. Where that's like his like main mission. So, unless or until I suppose, he actually finds him and talks to him, and hopefully at some point he finds his father, right? That whole little like B plot is still going to be very, very much active. So, yeah. And then just overall the season, right, this finale, very good. Very good. I think it started off super strong. And then we kind of got into what the show was, right? I'm all in. Aqua with this whole acting thing is really fun to see, and then also with his main purpose in life of trying to find answers is super interesting. And then we have Ruby, who isn't into all of that, and she's just trying to form an idol group and kind of be like her mom and honor her mom and make her mom proud. And she's doing a pretty good job so far with the help of Memcho and Kana, and I think they did a pretty good first performance. We didn't really get into them seeing like any like feedback or anything. I'm sure we'll probably get into that. Because obviously that's like a big thing with being a performer, right? You want to see how, how people are perceiving you, and, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, and also to get ready for their second performance. What are we doing there? Also, original songs. They kind of mentioned that, right, where they haven't had time to do, any like original music, so they kind of did, just did like covers and stuff for their first performance. I'd love to see an original song, kind of see them put their character and personality and stuff into it, right? So yeah, very excited for next season, which I'm hoping we're getting. Next, we move on to our first new show of the season. We got, or of the summer season, right? Summer 2023. We got Horimiya, The Missing Pieces, episode 1. Technically a sequel. So from what I understand, and this is obviously very apparent from this episode, this season is, I guess, going to be sort of like filling in different gaps, right? Different stories that weren't told in the actual show. Just the Horimiya show that aired a few seasons ago, which is cool, because just, to kind of talk about that for a second. That was something that, this show, the Missing Pieces, is something I'm very excited about, because I read the Horimiya manga, and so me having read that and then watching the show, I was like, oh man, I felt like, man, they really just covered the entire show in one season. Like that's, I feel like they cut out a lot of stuff. So them going back and then being like, hey, let's just kind of tell some stories that we never told. I feel like that's really cool and also very doable, because, Horimiya is just this like, it's like slice of life show where it's like, they don't have to worry about them being like, oh, well, this doesn't make sense, and there's no like, there's no context for this. We're just kind of pulling stuff out. Like, no, it's fine, because it is, like I said, a very slice of life show where it's fine to just tell these, like, each episode being like a random story, because it works. Like, you don't need the context or like the buildup of the previous season to enjoy these episodes. You can kind of pick up on what's happening and all that. So, very cool. But this episode in particular was cool, right? We're having a nice little trip to Kyoto, and yeah, so we have some fun moments. We have Shu locking out Izumi and Toru out of the room, very indicative of the Shu character. Thought that was funny. Izumi saying that he's on his period to get out of taking a bath. I thought, well, that's seemingly biologically impossible, but no one else is gonna, I guess everyone's just gonna respect it and say, okay, I guess that's what it is. And then for him to like later on realize, oh, if you miss your time, you can bathe again at like 11 or whatever. It's like, oh, he could have just done that from the beginning, but he was panicking. But this did lead him to a nice little moment where Kyoko let him use their shower. So that was like a nice moment to be like, oh, we're close, and again, this is before they were like together. It's very easy to see that, because it's like, oh, because if they were together, then they wouldn't have had the weird awkward moment of them being like, of him being like, oh, would you have let anyone, would you have let any guy come in and use your shower if they, in a similar situation? And she was like, no, absolutely not, but you're you. And like, kind of like an awkward, embarrassing moment there. It was like, whoa, what do you mean by that? So that was good. And then later on we have Remy being suspicious as to why Izumi is always covered up. So we have her kind of Sherlock Holmesing this whole situation, because that's like a big thing, right? Where no one really knows. Only Kyoko knows and Toru knows. I don't think anyone else knows about like his tattoos and stuff. So like Remy like picking up on that is very cool, and I wonder if they're gonna like continue with that. Again, I read the manga. I don't remember. I don't remember if Remy or anyone else figures out about his tattoos. Um, you know, but that could be a very funny thing to, for just like every so often for Remy to bring it up and like maybe like catch him or something. That'd be pretty funny. Um, and then Izumi and Kakeru at the end, very much not wanting to go in the pool. Obviously Izumi because of his tattoos, and then Kakeru because of his like, he's very self-conscious about his body, about being like super like slender, I guess. And then for there to be some sort of a compromise where, okay, you don't have to go in the pool, but you guys are gonna work. You guys are like clean or whatever. I thought that was great. Yeah. So good stuff. Good stuff all around. Again, this is a very much just a very typical slice of life show. So probably not going to be a whole lot of conflict or anything like that. Especially with this, like the way this season in particular is, where it is just random stories that were missing from the original story, from the original show. So, we're just gonna have a good time we should have a good time with this show every week. Just kind of chilling and seeing these characters get into stuff. So, I am always here for shows like that. So, and then lastly, we have our other new show for the summer season. We have Atelier, RYZA, Ever Darkness, and the Secret Hideout, the animation, episode 1. This was a special hour-long episode. I forgot about that when I started it. So, overall, I think I enjoyed this episode. This is an episode where I am a little scared. A little bit scared. And the reason I say that is because I really want to like this show. I really want this to be a show where I'm like all in for and we talk about it every week. But I am a little scared that this show is going to be a little too generic. And it's just going to be that like very generic fantasy adventure show where it doesn't really do anything special. Because if it is, like if it doesn't like break out and, us get super attached to like certain characters or, there be some sort of, hook for this show, then it's probably going to be a show I drop. That being said, I did enjoy the first episode. I thought that was a very promising first episode. So basically, this whole show is RYZA being bored by the farm work and her wanting to have an adventure, right? And so we see that, her teaming up with Tao and Lent, seemingly two friends that they've known for a while. She decides they're going to go on an adventure. It's very funny. They use a boat with no sail. And Tao and Lent are like, what are we doing? We seem woefully underprepared for this adventure. But we do get into some like very basic starter adventure stuff, right? They fight off some slime. They save this Claudia girl, which we don't learn too much about in this episode, but I assume we're gonna kind of dive deeper into her character as it goes on, because she seems to be a very important character. We have two characters, Empel and Lila, who saved them from the pixies. Empel is an alchemist, so that's pretty cool. And then we have Lila, who's a bodyguard, very good at fighting. So that's two nice little characters that we're introduced to there. And then we have some stuff which I feel like is maybe setting up what the show is. Like, maybe RYZA, Lent, and Tao are going to kind of long-term be attached to Lila and Empel. I don't know. because basically, they're all getting stuff from them, right? So Lila will teach Lent basic fighting, but Lila wants Lent to kind of show them around. Impel wants to see more of Tao's books, and in return, Tao is getting someone to read the books because he can't read them. I'm not really sure what the importance of the books are, but Impel, when he sees the book, it's like, I forget what he said, it's like mechanical something, super into him. So he's like, oh man, we might have hit the jackpot, and then Ryza wants to learn alchemy, just cause, I guess. And so, Impel tests Ryza, and Ryza's able to find the one plant or whatever, and then is able to make the one potion or whatever. I forget exactly what it is. So then Ryza succeeds, passes the test, so she gets to learn alchemy now. But then on Impel's end, he might have, and he says this, he might have hit like the jackpot again, because we found someone who has the aptitude for alchemy. Like, that's very rare. So again, they're all kind of a symbiotic relationship with all these characters. So maybe they form a party. Maybe, maybe our main group is now 5. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And yeah, that's pretty much the episode. Again, just, I'm glad they did an hour-long episode, because I don't feel like a lot of impactful stuff happened. Like, it was a lot of setup, which makes sense. Again, episode 1, it makes sense. I'm not like criticizing it. But, I like that they made it an hour long to be like, okay, we're getting all this out the way, in one episode. So yeah, good stuff. I'm intrigued by these characters. I'm intrigued by, what they're all kind of into, and what the adventure is even going to be. Because again, right now, it's just like, oh, we're just going on adventures, seeing stuff, doing stuff that we've never done before. It's like, okay, but like, where's the hook? I feel like there isn't one yet. Where like, I don't know that I want to, because like, there's different expectations. We just talked about HORIMIYA, and it's like, oh, well, that show is just kind of some characters doing stuff. No real, weight to the show. It's like, how is that any different than this show? It's like, well, that show was kind of lensed as a slice of life show. Like, it's just a bunch of characters hanging out doing stuff. Atelier RYZA, to my understanding, is supposed to be more of like an adventure show. They're supposed to be like, it's literally set up in the show with the main character being like, I want to go on an adventure. So I'd like to see a little more. I like to see there be more, some sort of weight. I don't need them to like save the world or anything like that. But I do need there to be some sort of goal, and not just, oh, every episode is going to be them kind of hanging out and walking through the forest. Like, that's not interesting. I think the introduction of characters like Impel and Lila are going to introduce some sort of goal, because it seems like they have something that they're doing. They have a purpose. So it'd be like, through them, RYZA, Lent, and Tao will be involved in that, and they will help out, and then we'll get like an actual story with an actual like conflict and whatever. But again, I'm into it so far. It's piqued my interest, and I hope that it kind of, again, has that hook. So yeah. And that is it. That is it for this episode. Not another Isekai. Finished up a couple shows, started a couple new shows. Next week we'll see an even bigger barrage of new shows. I think at least a few more will have started between the time I'm recording this and the time I'm recording next episode. So that'll be fun, starting up some new shows. Like I always try to say whenever we're in this period, this show, this podcast is very, very fluid. So, we could be picking up shows, dropping shows. I like to try to stick with shows that I'm super into, very excited to watch every week, which is why I kind of went on that whole, rant about Atelier RYZA, where it's like, hey, even if the show is fine, I don't want to watch shows that I feel like are just fine. I want to be excited. So yeah, but like I said, we're going to be picking up a ton of new shows, having a good time. Let me know what shows you would like me to watch. I did just do the preview episode. If you haven't watched that, you can go check that out. That, for the most part, lists off the shows that I'm going to watch. Sometimes that list changes and I don't end up watching some of those shows, or I end up watching shows that were not on that list just because, you know, things happen and, you know, certain shows get really, really good reviews that I wasn't expecting, so we got to pick them up. And then some shows just seem kind of boring or get worse reviews than I thought. And I'm like, oof, I'm not going to check that out, or we're going to drop it or whatever. So, yeah, let me know what you thought of the Hell's Paradise and Oshinoko finale, because those shows were ending. So that's, you know, pretty important there. And, yeah, I believe that is it. Until next time, watch more anime.